Cold weather does not merely make a plant uncomfortable, it changes the behavior of valves, impulse lines, instruments, seals, fuel systems, and the people trying to keep a process running. This deck is about what happens when a system designed for normal conditions meets a serious freeze. The headline lesson is simple: winterization is not a comfort feature, it is a process safety barrier. The sequence begins with a familiar kind of event: a major winter storm. The February 15th, 2021 storm shown here brought extreme cold across industrial regions that were not prepared to operate normally under those conditions. The danger was not one isolated frozen pipe, it was the interaction of many small changes happening at the same time. One storm can create more than one kind of failure. A valve can stick, a pressure reading can become misleading, a fuel gas path can stop responding. A control loop can appear stable right up until a piece of equipment is no longer in the condition the controller assumes. Look at the fired heater. A heater depends on the right fuel flow, the right airflow, the right draft, the right temperature, and the right protection logic. Every one of those signals depends on hardware that has to keep working in the cold. If a valve does not move when commanded, the process can be trapped between what the control system thinks is happening and what the equipment is actually doing. The Port Arthur example in this deck focuses on a stuck valve. A stuck valve is not just a mechanical inconvenience. Its position becomes a process condition. If the valve is stuck open, fuel or flow can continue when the system expects isolation. If it is stuck closed, the equipment may starve, trip, or create a different instability. The critical point is that the command is not proof of position. This is where instrumentation matters. A control output tells you what the controller requested. It does not automatically tell you what the valve did. Position feedback, pressure response, flow response, and independent field verification are separate pieces of evidence. Now, follow the frozen fuel gas valve. A fuel gas system has a dangerous combination of energy and timing. The system may be designed to trip safely, but a hardware failure can defeat the expected sequence. A valve that is shown as closed may be physically open. A valve that should open may not. The technician has to ask which state is real, which signal is trustworthy, and which protection layer is still available. The next slide shows the consequence: ruptured tubes and millions of dollars burned. The point is not that one frozen component creates a fire by itself. The point is that a small loss of control can remove the margin that keeps a high energy system stable. Once fuel, heat, pressure, and ignition are aligned, the event can move faster than a person can improvise a fix. The Sweeney example adds another failure mode: silent backflow. Backflow is dangerous because it violates the mental picture people carry in their heads. The line is assumed to be isolated. The actual system still has a path. During a shutdown or upset, the difference between expected flow and real flow can become the difference between a controlled transition and a fire. That is why shutdowns deserve as much attention as startups. A rushed shutdown can leave one valve open, one bypass available, or one section of equipment connected when operators believe the energy is gone. The phrase "we shut it down" is not a measurement. It is a claim that must be verified. The deck then moves from the valve problem to thermal stress. Frozen equipment can be damaged twice: first by the cold, and then by the way the system is brought back. Rapid temperature changes create expansion and contraction. A pipe or component weakened by the cold may not survive a thermal transition that would have been harmless in normal weather. The failure can also create a secondary ignition path. Residual heat, hot insulation, combustible material, and escaping fuel do not need a dramatic new mistake. They only need the right conditions to overlap. And this is why post trip inspections and gas testing matter even after the obvious equipment has stopped. The comparison on the next slide is useful: hardware failure versus human error. In real incidents, the answer is often both, but not in the simplistic way people mean when they say operator error. Hardware can fail, procedures can be incomplete, training can assume normal weather, alarms can be unclear, maintenance can leave a protection layer unavailable. A person then makes a decision inside a system that has already removed the information they needed. The root cause presented here is inadequate winterization. Winterization is not one heat trace cable and not one checklist. It includes insulation, steam tracing, drains, enclosures, low point protection, cold weather procedures, equipment ratings, spare capacity, reliable indication, and a clear response when the process no longer matches the plan. For an I&E technician, that means asking practical questions before the storm arrives. Which instruments can freeze? Which impulse lines need protection? Which valves are vulnerable? What does the feedback actually measure? Can the valve position be proved locally? What happens when the normal utility source disappears? Which alarms are still reliable when the equipment is outside its normal operating envelope? The final slide says it plainly: you are the last line. That does not mean one technician can personally overcome every design weakness. It means the technician is often the person close enough to notice that the field condition does not match the screen. The last line is the habit of stopping when the signal, the procedure, and the physical equipment disagree. In cold weather, trust is earned by verification. Prove the valve, prove the signal, prove the energy is isolated, then decide whether the process is ready to move again. Before the next freeze, build a winterization check that follows the process instead of just the calendar. Start with the instruments that can lose their measurement first. Low points, impulse lines, pressure taps, and small bore connections are vulnerable because a small amount of ice can block a signal while the larger process line still appears normal. A transmitter can be healthy and still report the wrong answer if the pressure path is frozen. Then look at valves. Which valves depend on instrument air? Which ones need heat tracing? Which ones can fail in the last commanded position? Which ones have real position feedback? And which ones are only assumed to have moved because the controller output changed? A winter plan should name the proof, not just the action. Do the same for utilities. What happens when steam tracing is lost? What happens when electrical heat trace trips? Is there a drain or vent that can freeze? Can operators reach the equipment safely? Do the alarms tell the control room that the protection layer is unavailable? Or do they wait for the process to drift? During the event, slow the decision cycle down. Compare the process value with an independent check. Compare the command with the field position. Treat a sudden clean reading with suspicion if the physical process is not responding. If the field condition does not match the screen, stop work and escalate while the system still has margin. After a trip, do not reset and rush. Inspect for frozen components, blocked impulse paths, damaged seals, thermal stress, and trapped pressure. Confirm the fuel in air paths. Gas test where the procedure requires it. Prove isolation before people move into the next step. The practical lesson is not that cold weather makes every plant unsafe. It is that normal assumptions must be re-earned in abnormal conditions. Winterization works when it preserves measurement, movement, protection, and decision quality. The technician is the last line because the technician can compare the drawing, the screen, and the equipment. Use that position. Verify before you restore. Verify again before you start.